Before we begin tonight, I have a couple of announcements for you so that we're all aware of what's going on. We have actually started the audit with our local people. They'll started their audit on Monday, and they'll be coming back several times. And also the state audit continues. We have had those folks up for the past couple of weeks, correct?
What we're doing now is the gap audit is not the state supervisor.
Okay.
It's a different set of state audit.
But it's from the state. Correct. And also, I just recently got a call from Vince Crawford, who is our waste management supervisor in our district, and he wanted to come in and just do a little catch up as far as what we were thinking about. Maybe we had questions on the waste management whole business. And he will be coming into Caucus on May 6th. That would be May 6th. That's our first meeting. I think that's good. I have been getting my dates mixed up lately, but that's we all. And also, I would like to, at the very beginning of this meeting, to ask you all to, you were just really great with the last meeting, to keep the reports focused and on target with what's going on in your neighborhood or whatever kind of event might be important for us to announce. So I'd ask you to do the very same thing tonight and keep the reports focused on what's happening in your area, please.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The county executive is having his first, I guess, state of the county address at 7 in Parma. And it's also being streamlined. I don't know if it's being taken over. What did you say?
No.
Oh, I think you said it's over.
That's tonight?
Yeah.
You'll probably see it on the Okay. All right, moving to the agenda for tonight, we do have some communications. And we have Resolution 215-13. We discussed this last time around and wondered if 1.3 would be sufficient to, as a mill tax to put on a levy. And I believe both our Human Services Director and Finance Director had a discussion on it and felt that that would be appropriate, unless you'd like to make an amendment.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
we did want you to know that the amount, we're basing it on what would have been realized in November of 2014. So if there would be a change now, we don't know what that would be. So based on that, it was an estimate of $383,000 that would be coming in at that amount. Just so you all know, that would keep this at the status quo. It would keep us where we are at this moment. So that is that we want you to know that that's not with recreation added into it. That's not with returning any staff. That's what we are at this moment. So, and that's again presuming the $383,000, and that our grant monies would all stay as they are this year or increase.
We can take another look at this and
Do they have
It's
a
on a second.
recommendation?
Pardon me?
Do they have a recommendation to the village based on what probably the finance director?
we haven't sent it in yet.
Do we have an estimate of what the millage should be increased to in order to cover what we need to? We don't have that.
No. And our understanding was that this was going in at the 1.3. You were getting that back from the county, that's what I understood, to give us a number as it is, their estimate as of today, now. And then Irene and I would meet and say, okay, this is what the estimate is, and this is where we are now in our budget. Right now, to run the senior center and the food pantry, as it sits now, it's running at an average of $30,000 a month. So at that rate, it would cost $360,000 to keep us where we are. But again, we don't know if that would have been changed or not. So I can't tell you if the millage were 1.4, we don't know what that would be. We don't know what the 1.4 number would be.
So we can leave this as a second reading or just send it down. I don't think they're going to know anymore. Right. It has to go down to the auditor in order for them to take a look at it as far as we are paying. So I would suggest that we pass this tonight and get it moving. Go ahead, yes. Councilman Jackson.
Sending it down and getting that amount, I think is critical to trying to figure out what we want to do. Whatever amount we get back at the 1.3, we could figure out just by simple division, I think, what it would be if it was another 0.1 on there to take it to 1.4. And I think that's so important because I think everybody, a majority of people, I would think, if you ask them, would want to have things like recreation in their city for their kids. Some people holler about not having anything for the kids to do, the pool not being open and all those kind of things. I think those things are vital to having a community that people want to live in and stay in. So for me going from 1.3 to 1.4, the person who's going to vote for that, are they not going to vote for it because it's 1.4 and not 1.3? I think they still would, but we would still need to know what that would bring in. So sending it down, and we got time to decide what we want to have it to go on the ballot, because it's not scheduled to go on the ballot until November, right? So sending it down to get the number, I think, is vitally important right now.
Madam Chair.
So are we going to amend it after it goes down?
Madam Chair.
It's, go ahead, Mr. Brownlee.
Thank you. The last I heard, the center is only funded through August. And these funds won't come in until 2017. So that's roughly about 16 months. What are we going to do in the interim?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, we can't hear that. Ms. Crowell.
But what I was saying is that my understanding is that you could have a special provision for the funds to start right after the election the following year without waiting, foregoing that whole year. And again, we can check on that, but that's what I was told, that we would not have to wait before a year, following year.
Back to Councilman Jackson, if you're throwing in recreation, this is another a leg to the senior center. We're looking at the senior center and the food pantry with this particular levy, but you're looking at adding recreation to this?
Only recreation was run out of this department, right? Human services.
Well, Madam President?
Okay.
Yes.
It does have its own budget. Okay.
It is, but it's been completely written out of the budget. So it's not in till August, it wasn't until March 31st, and it wasn't until for August 31st.
Okay.
And also, it would cost more than the .1. It would
Okay.
cost a considerable amount more than that, because the staff is depleted, the contract for the pool is no longer intact, so it would cost more than that. To Mr. Brownlee's question as well, we are still waiting to hear from the county on the additional funds that they have suggested come to us. We are also, a grant is going in on April 27th for, I'm requesting in that grant $30,000 more to cover 1 month of service. You will continue to see fundraising efforts going on here. So, you know, we can't get through 2016 with these, but we are, you know, working hard and, you know, somewhat confident that we can do what we can to get through this year.
Okay, so I would
Now,
suggest
that's
that,
a supposition, it's not fact.
I would suggest that we send this down and suspend the rules tonight and send it down and see what happens. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I think it's important we get it down there because we want to figure out what's this going to cost the resident per house.
Right.
We got to get this done quick. So already had.
Okay. Tom?
Does anybody have an answer to the question that if it goes down, can it be amended after that? No? So if it goes down, it
You have
goes
to
down
redo
to
it.
1.3.
Right, you would have to redo it all over.
You'd have to put the ordinance
Yeah,
to 1.4 and then send it.
See, that's the dilemma that I had at the last council meeting. Is this enough? If this is enough for status quo, I don't think that's good enough.
But,
Because that
Madam
means
President?
operating the way we are right now.
Correct. Go ahead, Linda.
I think that amendment, though, is not, I mean, you could still do it, there's still time, not the amendment, but a new piece of legislation added to it. If it comes back the same, if it comes 383, if that estimate is more, if it's less, you won't know until you get that back.
Right. Okay, kind of punting here.
Madam Chair,
Rhea?
when do we receive our property tax payments from the county?
Go ahead, if you have that date.
We have 5 advances that this body approved. The advances come January, February, May, July, and August. The settlements come in April and October. So in essence, there's like 7 different disbursements from the county.
So when is the earliest we would actually receive these funds from this new levy?
Well, what I stated is that I was told, which I could follow up, is that we could start that following year. That we would be able to start claiming the money. We would not have to wait a full year.
So we could, you're saying that there's a possibility that we could assess this on the 2015
Yes,
tax year
that's what
and collect it in 2016, only a couple months after the election?
that's what I was told. Because, you know, taxes are like a year at a time, so.
Right.
But that's what I was told. We will follow up and check that out for sure.
Okay, the next one would be 2015-14, and that, of course, has to wait, so this will be a second reading tonight. 2015-17 is authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the resurfacing of the Warrensville Center Road from north of Rockside to the I-80 ramp. This resolution is on its first reading. Is there any reason we cannot pass this tonight? Is it, we have the paperwork ready, right?
Madam President, I
Yes.
have 2 questions.
Okay.
I'd like to ask the mayor if it could be added as a co-sponsor.
Sure.
And then my second question is, Mayor, do you have a timeline of when this project could begin?
I believe they'll begin next year, and it'll go into 2017. It's a 2-year project.
Madam Chair?
Just one moment, Mr. Jackson. John, is there a deadline to get the paperwork in?
Can't remember. I'm sure the sooner the better, though. I mean, the sooner you get it in, the sooner the project
Okay.
will start. I mean, and I would think there is a deadline. What it is, I don't know.
And we don't have that, okay. Mr. Jackson?
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor also.
Okay. So if we could possibly suspend the rules and put this resolution on its third and final reading. 2015-18. We have formally put the third Wednesday of the summer months down as our meeting dates. And we're doing this just a little differently this time around so that we can be on time with the, I believe the tax budget is due in July 15, which would fall on one of our meeting dates. So we were hoping that by moving this vacation time to the first Wednesday of each June, July, and August, it would give us ample time to get everything passed and give our finance director time to get it rolling for us. Do you have any comments on this? Does it make a big difference?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Brownlee?
As I stated last year, there's a certain rhythm to having the meetings the first and the third Wednesday of every month. And I don't see any reason to take it down to one meeting a month. Even if there are vacations, I mean, shoot, if a couple people take vacation and we can't hold a meeting, then I think there's some serious problems about how we run things. So I would suggest that we not change the summer schedule to eliminate any meetings, and that we continue to have regular times to be able to update the residents on what is happening. There's a certain rhythm to having it twice a month, and even last year some people showed up not knowing that there wasn't a meeting that night, expecting for there to be one. So I don't see why there's any need, for the sake of vacations, to amend our schedule of meeting. If someone's missing, I'm sure the meeting can go on without them.
I don't think anything was mentioned about vacations, Mr. Brownlee.
It's right here in the resolution itself.
All right,
And you just mentioned it a moment ago, actually, Madam Chair.
thank you. But I'm sorry.
Nothing.
Madam President.
So I'm sorry, I totally lost my thought being interrupted again. Go ahead, Alan.
We've always had one meeting during the 3 months. As everybody bring toward the summer. And if anything ever comes up that needs meeting, we can always set a special meeting and set out the notices and we'll be here. So I think we ought to just go ahead what we always done and what other cities does.
Some don't have any meetings at all during the
That's
summertime.
right.
The other thing is that we will be seeing less and less legislation. Our job as council is to pass legislation, to legislate. And without a lot of legislation going on, the rationale to meet is not to have reports or inform residents about what's going on. Particularly, there are other ways of doing that. We have the website, we have the neighborhood news, and we have folks that are on Facebook and all of the other social media that can also inform. So this resolution can be on a first meeting if you'd like, but it definitely would need to be passed before June. Any other comments, please? And would you please look at your expenditures over 1,000? Are there any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Jackson.
I just have one on 2015-33, the Great Lakes Petroleum. I see our budget is 128,578, and this amount is 60,000. Is this 60 for half of the year, or just to the point where we are now?
It will cover at least a quarter. The fuel that is fluctuating due to the prices, but basically it costs close to $200,000 a year for the fuel. Because we spent already a quarter, so we have, this is not the total, but this is what's left at this point, $128,000.
This was left, okay.
Right at this point. So, we anticipate about 3 more quarters, but you spend, seems like in different increments. Sometimes in a year you spend more than others. But just based on the last year's actuals, we project the 60,000 should take at least 3 to 4 months.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the expenditures? Okay. Do we have any announcements or any other concerns that you'd like to bring forward at this point?
Madam Chair?
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, there's a suggestion I had, or a thought that I'd like to share. I shared with some of you already, is the idea that we should maybe look into establishing a CDC here in Maple Heights to help us in interacting with the various organizations like the County Land Bank, and the assistance they might be able to provide to us. as well as having some additional input from another established body like the CDC would be able to do here in Maple Heights. I just come to throw that out there, see what the thoughts of council are.
Madam Chair.
Councilman
To Mr.
Jackson?
Brownlee, CDC as in,
I'm sorry. Yeah, Community Development Corporation.
Okay, no other comments here, so we have a few minutes. The caucus is complete at 6:50.